This video is going to review for your Chapter 2 quiz that you'll be taking on Friday. So the first question here is reviewing domain and range. Here the key word is domain. You remember your domain means your set of x values. So we're going to look at the x coordinates. Remember, every coordinate has an x and a y. So here our x's would be -2, -1, and 0. And they also want to know if this relation is a function. Remember, for it to be a function, x cannot repeat. Here, since all the x's are different, this one is a function. So the correct answer was red. Now, they might also ask you about range. If they ask about range, then they're talking about the y values. Here the y values are 3, 3, and 5. Remember, you don't have to repeat them. So you would just put 3 and 5. And it's okay that the 3 repeats. When you're checking if it's a function or not, you're just focusing on your x's. So since all the x's were different here, this one was a function. Here we're also reviewing domain and range, but this time of a graph. So when you're looking at a graph and you're finding domain, you're still doing x, but you're looking left to right. So here, if I look at the left and I take it to the x, it starts at -4. And then on the right, it ends at +4. So my domain goes from -4 to +4. And then you want to check if your endpoints are shaded or unshaded. Since this one's shaded, the -4 has the equal to. This one's not shaded, so that one doesn't. When you're doing range, that's your y values, and you look bottom to top. So on the bottom, if we take it to the y, this one begins at -3. And on the top, it ends at +4. So this one goes from -3 to 4. And both of these are shaded, so we're going to use the equal to symbol on both of them. So the correct answer was this one right here. Now, on this next problem, they want us to find f of -4 if f of x equals -2x squared plus 37. So what we're going to do is our number in parentheses is our x. So anywhere we see an x, we can plug in the -4. So this becomes -2 times -4 squared plus 37. And from here we can use PEMDAS. So we're going to start by doing -4 squared, which means -4 times -4, or +16. So our problem becomes -2 times 16 plus 37. -2 times 16 is -32. And if you add 37, you get 5 as your answer. Here they're asking which equation is linear. Remember, linear equations are equations that can be written in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, or standard form, ax plus by equals c. If you look at the first answer choice here, this one's not linear because there's an x in the denominator. If you look at the next answer choice, it's not linear because there's an exponent. And if you look at the green one, that one's not linear because the x and y here are attached or stuck together. So the answer would be yellow, and this one's actually written in slope-intercept form. This next question is checking that we know how to write problems in standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. So here, our first step is we want it to look like ax plus by. So we would move our plus 4x to the other side. When you move it to the other side, it changes sign. So it becomes -4x. The 3y equals -1. We're already on the correct side, so I'm just going to bring those down. So +3y equals -1. Now for standard form, you have several rules. For something to be in standard form, x has to be positive, or the x term has to be positive. There can be no fractions, and you're going to want to simplify if possible. So you want to check that it meets these requirements. So right away I notice my x term is negative. So to undo that, I'm going to multiply everything by -1. And this changes sign. So it becomes positive 4x minus 3y equals positive 1. So now my x term is positive. There's no fractions. Here this one's already simplified because the smallest number there is 1. So I have 4x minus 3y equals 1. This next question asks us to find the y-intercept of this equation. When you're finding your intercepts, the magic number is 0. When you're finding your y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So we're going to plug 0 in for x. Here, 3 times 0 is 0, so that disappears, and we're left with -2y equals 12. Then if we divide by -2, we get -6 for our y-intercept. Now, they could have also asked for the x-intercept. If they had asked for the x-intercept, then you would have plugged in 0 to the y instead. So if they had asked for the x-intercept, we would have plugged 0 in for y. 2 times 0 is 0, so that disappears. And for the x-intercept, we would have gotten 4. So for your intercepts, your magic number 0, you plug it into the opposite variable. This next question, the keyword slope, and they give us the slope formula. So you should label your points here. x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we can start plugging in. So for y2 minus y1, we're going to plug in 8 minus 6. For x2 minus x1, we're going to plug in -7 minus 2. This comes out to 2 over -9. So the correct answer here was yellow. 2 over -9 can also be written as -2/9. That means the same thing. This next problem wants to know the equation of the line. We're going to use slope-intercept form. So here we're going to have to find our m, our slope. We're going to use rise over run. So I'm going to pick 2 points. So I can use this point here and this point here. Remember, you always want to start at your left point and check first if it's going up or down. So to get to the next point, it's actually going to go down 1. So our rise is -1, and then it goes right 3. That's our run. So our slope is -1/3. We also want to find our b, our y-intercept. So here, if we look at our graph, our y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So this right here is our y-intercept. It's at +3. Once you have your slope and y-intercept, you can plug these into slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in our slope and our y-intercept. So here I have y equals, my slope was -1/3, and my y-intercept was a +3. This next question has the keyword parallel, so slope of line parallel. So if we look at this equation right now, the slope of this equation is 4/3. So you just need to understand what the word parallel means. Well, we learned that parallel lines have the same slope. So if it has the same slope, the slope would also be 4/3. Now, they might not ask parallel. Another term we learned was perpendicular. Perpendicular lines, the slopes are opposite reciprocals. If they had asked perpendicular, opposite reciprocal means you're going to change the sign. And reciprocal means you're going to flip the fraction. So if they had asked perpendicular instead, you would have to do these two things. So instead of 4/3, it would become negative 3/4. So parallel lines, same slope, perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. This last problem is reviewing point slope form. So they want the equation for the line that has a slope of -2 and passes through this point. So remember, your slope is your m. And this point would be my x1, y1. We're going to plug this into point slope form. So I have y minus. For y1, I'm going to plug in 3. For m, I'm going to plug in -2. And for x1, I'm going to plug in 1. So in our formula, we're plugging into y1, m, and x1. From there, our next step is to distribute. So I have y minus 3 equals -2 times x is -2x. And next, we're actually doing -2 times -1, which equals a +2. So I'm going to write +2 here. Our next step is we want it to say y equals. So right now, it has y minus 3. So to get rid of the -3, we're going to actually add 3 to both sides. So I have y equals -2x. 2 and 3 would give me a +5. So these are the different things that we covered in Chapter 2 so far. Anything that we reviewed here could come out on your quiz.